Bon dia, Yves Golair. Good evening to you. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to another Fireside Chat. And this is our 39th, where I am in conversation with a member of the Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids. So just type in your name and let me know where you're from. I know there's a few people I can see there are a few viewers, but let's see who's here. Hi, Linda. I'm from Australia. Well done again for getting up so early. Anastasia from Australia as well. Okay. And Jamie from Ohio. Lovely to see you. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Greta. Ah, yes, that's a familiar name from Norway. Lovely. And Sue, great, Northamptonshire. Wet. It's been sunny and dry here in Ireland and not as hot as it is in the UK, but I'm really grateful for that. Hi, Ava from Belgium. Zane from California. Dean from Bedfordshire. Stephanie from Utah again. Lovely. Hi, Gina from Plymouth. Lovely to see you all. And Kat from British Columbia. Lovely. So you're also, and Pat from Ulster and New York, Sherry, Henrietta, Oklahoma. That's a great name. And Buckinghamshire, that's Jan. Lovely to see you. And Michael, that's from Oklahoma. Wonderful. So let me introduce somebody from Tandragee in Northern Ireland, County Armagh. Hi, Leslie. You're very, very welcome. So let me introduce to you tonight my guest for this evening, who comes from the other side of the world, and she has gotten up at 5. It's 5 a.m. where she is, and it's Trudy Richards from who's in Victoria. Trudy, you're so welcome.
Thanks, Emma. It's lovely to be here with you.
And I'm very grateful that you got up so early to be with us at the time.
I hardly slept all night because I was worried about sleeping in, so I'm a little bit bug-eyed, but we'll be right.
Well, I hope you can have a good sleep afterwards. You can go back to bed. Anyway, lovely to have you. And just for our viewers, just tell us where you are.
I'm in Hillsville, which is in the Yarra Valley. It's about an hour east of Melbourne. Surrounded by beautiful mountains, beautiful forests of mountain ash trees. The Yarra River flows close by, and there's lots of wineries in the area as well. So quite a little bit touristy, but most of the time it's beautiful. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, beautiful! So, in your summer, is it crazy and hot and fiery, or?
It can be fiery. A few years ago, there was quite often in these wooded areas, there's the danger of bushfires. And over the years, there have been some that have come quite close to town, but none have actually gone through town that I'm aware of, which is good. Winters can be hottish, but not as bad as in the middle of Melbourne with all the concrete and that. Winters can be quite cold, and we are on the way to the snowfields. So winter traffic is often worse than summer traffic.
So what's cold for you? What's cold for you?
Cold for me?
I mean, when you say cold, what does that mean?
Cold's when it's when it's about 5 or 6 degrees, that's cold.
Okay, that's not bad.
that's not too bad, yeah. That's when I'm starting to really feel it. Up to then, just a couple of extra layers and I'm fine. I lived in Clifton Beach, it was just north of Cairns in the tropics for almost 4 years, and I found the hot a lot harder to deal with than the cold.
Yeah.
It's easier to warm up than it is to cool down.
Absolutely. I find that too.
Yeah.
So, are you from where you're living right now?
No, I was actually born in Leongatha in Victoria, which is in South Gippsland. But I've lived most of my life sort of on the outskirts of Melbourne. It was called Clarinda, which is sort of Clayton South for anyone who knows the Melbourne area. And as a child, it was a lot of market gardens and farms were still there. And where I used to go horse riding is now, I think it's a supermarket and a kindergarten and a car park. That's good memories of sort of country living in a way, but close to the facilities that cities have that they offer. And then I spent most of my adult life I've spent in the country, get out of Melbourne. I'm not a city girl at all. I like access to, just getting away, going up bush tracks and country roads and just seeing where you end up, exploring.
Wonderful. What brought you to Druidry?
I think I've always questioned things in my life. The meaning of life, that internal question, thinking that there's got to be something else. And then I explored, I did a flower essences course, which was really good, and tree essences, and explored a bit of, I was doing a tarot workshop weekend, and I got talking to one of the girls there, and we started up a monthly thing where we'd all get together and practice like intuitive writing and drawing and do past life readings on each other and things like that, which I found I was very good at. And then one day, this particular girl, she was a masseuse, and she was giving me some massage because I was having back trouble. And one day she just sort of stopped halfway through and said, you were a druid in a past life. And I was like, I went all tingly and funny, and I really resonated with that. And then I got home and I was a member of a book club, and they had catalogues that they sent out for the next lot of books. And there was a book in there, The Modern Druidess.
By Cassandra Easton.
Yeah. And so I ordered that, and it came like within a week it had arrived, and I think I read it in 2 days or something, and at the end of the book was it mentioned OBOD. And so of course I emailed and that was it. And I wasn't even going to just look at the introductory stuff. I knew I was going to do it, the course, and enrolled. Within the month of her mentioning it, I was beginning the course. So
that's really interesting, because that's how I found Druidry. It was through that same book that hopped out in a bookshop.
Yeah, I've actually lent that book to a few people. They've asked me about Druidry, and I say I always recommend looking up the order's website, druidry.org. Just go there, and that will explain it in a more rounded, better way than what I could just during conversation, because you have the pictures and all the links and that as well. But then when there's, have you got any books? And I always grab that. In fact, one girl's got it at the moment, and another girl's waiting for it. Yeah.
Well, it's just interesting because at the book, like you say, at the end of the book, she mentions OBOD, because she was a member of OBOD, and she said she recommended the training. So I thought, okay, and the rest is history. It's really interesting, and it's just, you're the first person I've come across who had the same doorway or the same key into the order as myself. Wonderful. So, when you, like you said, you're just like, you don't need to do the introductory because this is what you're going to do. When you look at Druidry now, and you are a Druid, is it something you are, or is it something you do, or how do you see it in your own life?
It's just something I am. I think and that's why I enjoyed, the 3 grades so much. Sometimes it'd be like, it was reading some of it would just trigger things inside me that it's like, I remember, I should know this. And then it's just the things that during your everyday life that I'm always aware of where the moon is. Definitely the seasons, of course. You can't live in Victoria without being aware. They're so profound. As a child, I always collected, rocks and stones and feathers and things, and it just, I think inside it was just my path that I relate to that, and I can't be anything else. It's who I am, but it's by doing the course, it's just made me more stand within who I am. I think it reminded me of who I like being as well. I can't be any other way. I don't know if that explains it at all. But
so it's like a way of life for you.
Yeah. But yeah, definitely. Yeah.
So, do you have a daily practice, or how do you?
Yeah, I do. Every morning when I get up, I put the kettle on and then I go outside, unless it's absolutely pouring with rain. But we've got a deck just outside where the kitchen area is, and I go out there, and we've got this most beautiful oak tree just out there. And so I go and stand on the deck overlooking the tree and say hello to the tree, and I just sort of turn around and look at the sky, and I do a little invocation to spirit, and then I 3 times I go around in a circle, and may there be peace to the east, peace to the north, peace to the west, peace to the south, peace throughout the whole world. And may there be truce in the east, may there be truce in the north, may there be truce in the west, may there be truce in the south, may there be truce throughout the whole world. May there be love and light in the east, may there be love and light in the north, may there be love and light in the west, may there be love and light in the south, may there be love and light throughout the whole world. And so it is. Thank you. And then I go inside and the kettle's boiled, and it just sets me up for my day. Then I make my coffee and I come back up to bed, usually sit in bed and catch up on emails and videos, or read a book, and because it's usually about 5:36 then. And I love being the first up in the morning because the house is quiet, and it's quite often it's just, it still might be quite dark outside, but you see a little light appearing in the sky, and the birds are starting, and it's just a beautiful time of the day. Yeah.
It's beautiful to have that. I suppose you're fortunate to have that quiet space for yourself, and that you can get up early enough to do it. I can't. Luckily, I live alone now, but to have that place, that centering, to start your day.
Yeah. Sometimes I'm a little bit, if I've sort of had a really late night and I've slept in, and by the time I get up, there's others downstairs, and it's like, get away! I want to go and do my ritual. You'll see me, and so it's a private thing. I don't. I mean, they know what I do because I've told them. But it's my little private time with just me and spirit, I suppose. I just really feel that connection there in that quiet time.
So you're a long time in the order, are you?
I think it was about 2002 or something.
Okay.
I know my first assembly was, I think it was 2004, but I'd been in the order for a while. I was really nervous about meeting other druids to start with.
You know that one?
Yeah. But then when I did, it was like, oh, why did I wait so long? These people just felt so much like family and just connected straight away. It was really just a wonderful, like coming home experience.
And that too was my experience of going to gatherings, and obviously in the Northern Hemisphere. And OBOD for me has, been like a family, like a homecoming, which is absolutely wonderful to have that community. And I suppose that's one of the important things of the order, is that it engenders, it creates community. And if you're fortunate enough to live near somebody, that's there. And then now with the current world situation, we have an online community. It's not the same thing, but it does connect people, which is really, really nice. When has Druidry supported you in your life?
I think right from the beginning, I suppose. Just knowing that you can just go out in nature or anywhere and just quieten yourself and make that connection. But I thought it's really, I suppose, being aware of elementals and other things like that you don't feel alone. You always know there's that hidden support there. And just if you're feeling a bit stressed or whatever, just really calming down, finding 5 minutes doing a light body exercise helps you bring the centre and ground yourself again, and find where you are within the bigger universe, because everyone has a part to play, yeah. And just being able to ring other people within, not just the Melbourne Grove, who I'm a member of, but also the other people that around Australia who have met at assemblies and that are just so wonderful, and they're just a phone call or a message away.
That's beautiful, beautiful. How do you honor your ancestors?
Well, that's a good one. I think it's I'm sort of, it's like I'm aware that they're part of who I am.
Mm-hmm.
That they're, and it's not just a genetic DNA thing. It's experiences as well. My family's always been big on craft, like knitting and that, and my mother died about 11, 12 years ago, and we weren't really very close, but she did teach me how to knit when I was about 4 or 5, and I find when I'm knitting, which I do a lot, especially the last year, I really feel closer to Mum at that time when I'm knitting, and I think of her, and then my grandparents and my aunties, and that also knit and do crafty, but they do crochet, and I prefer to knit. But yeah, that's when I'm really thinking of them and where they've been and that's where I've come from.
It's beautiful. How do you see yourself as a future ancestor?
I'll be the one in the back of your head telling you, don't do that, or do that and you'll learn why you shouldn't have done it, or I'll probably be a nagger. I don't know. Little voice in the head.
And it's in terms of now, when you know, as a druid, how do you see your responsibility as a future ancestor?
I'm just showing how it's really easy to be kind to the earth. And when you're out and about, you know, just being caught, not just trampling over things, and acknowledging the nature that's around you and setting the example, I suppose, more so. Being careful about what I eat in regards to not eating a lot of junk and highly processed food, but mainly probably growing my own food and medicine if I can, and showing people how easy it is to keep healthy with just growing a few simple herbs. I'm really interested in medicinal plants. That's probably my biggest passion, and I love growing them and harvesting them and making up teas, and if people come around, it's like, I'll make us a herbal tea, and then I have to think, and then I go through my little stack and I put this in and I'll put that in, and it's nice to play around with it. And then it's like, I'll say, oh, how are you feeling? You know, they're a bit tense, or feeling a bit scattered, and then I just put in things instinctively, and they always say, that tastes nice, and I feel better now.
Great.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. So where you're living, are there any special sacred sites? I mean, I know, as you can say, all land is sacred. Are there anything, places that you, in Australia, and then I know you've lived overseas as well, but in Australia that call to you?
Yeah, there's quite a few. There's not so many around here at Hillsville because I've only been here for a couple of years, and there's even though there's lots of forests, it's hard to find places where you can actually park and go off, and I'm always a little bit nervous about getting lost out there as well because it's very vast.
Okay.
But where I used to live in Kyneton, there's a beautiful waterfall and Turpin's Falls. I used to go there a lot, and I'd always take any Druid friends that came to visit. We'd always go out there, and it used to be an Aboriginal birthing site. So it really has that.
An Aboriginal birthing site? Can you explain that? What does that mean?
Well, it was where the women used to go when someone was, going to have or in labour, or the women would go there, and no men were allowed. It was just a sacred place for the women to give birth. With the waterfall and the beautiful pool underneath. So that's one place, and then Trentham Falls is another one that I really like. I think most of them do seem to have water and rocks.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I really love Hanging Rock, but there's no water there. But anyway.
And
there's a place I go to here at Maroondah Dam. I've tried a few different places, and that's the one that's quite close. And there's a lot of trees around there, but on the side, I can sort of go into the trees, and I've made my own little grove in there.
Okay.
And that feels really nice, and I do ritual in there. And sometimes I see people walking past, and they don't look my way because I know I'm protected as well while I'm there. I'm still finding more places here, but even just walking around the streets, and there's so many oak trees and ash and silver birches and everything around here. Everything just, if you can get away from where the people and the cars are and just sit somewhere, it always feels nice and supportive and nurturing.
And I know you've travelled, you've been to this part of the world. Where was a special sacred site for you at this part of the world?
I really liked, there's so many, really. I really love going to visit all the stone circles, and I think one of my favourites has been the Beltana Circle.
Beltany Stone Circle in Donegal?
Yeah. I've been there a few times now, and once there was probably about maybe 15 people there. And that was okay. We sort of wandered around and everyone went away. But the very first time I went there was only me and my friend Ellen. And that was really special because then you get time to, walk slowly around and, connect with each stone. So that place was really, really beautiful. And you can pick up the sense of ritual being done there in the past. And that reminds me of another favourite place with the Isle of Arran.
Oh, in Scotland.
Yeah. My friend Alan had a small yacht, and every summer him and a group of friends, they used to sort of go sailing together. And one year I was over there in the summer, escaping our winter, and I went with him on this trip around the Western Isles, the Arran Isle. What's that side called? Something coast of Scotland. Anyway, so we went to Arran, and of course I looked at the map and said, okay, we're going to visit this circle, Mockery Mall. And we on the boat we always take a couple of bikes so that you can pedal around the island.
Lovely.
And so I looked at it and thought, yeah, okay. We went into the little town and got a few supplies, like some drinks and a block of chocolate and a couple of sandwiches, and off we went. And we thought, we've got to go up that big hill, the Goat's Toe, I think it's called. And it's like, my bike only had 3 gears. I think. So anyway, quite often I had to get off the bike and push because it was just so steep and my legs were not the best. So when we finally got up there, and, all downhill all the other side, which was wonderful, and we found the circle, and it was just because you go up a farm track and there's quite a few circles there, so you come across the first one and it's like, wow, that's great, and have a bit of a wander around, and then we sat within one and had a picnic lunch, and we were there probably for about 2 hours. It was just amazing. I did a meditation and I could just see all the people dancing around and like doing a summer solstice ritual. It was just really beautiful. And then we thought, we better head back. And thought, I don't want to go up that hill to go back. And then Alan said, oh, it's an island, you know. What about if, because we're already on the coast, we'll just pedal around the outside, you know. It won't take long. It's pretty flat down where we were. That was a big mistake. Because it wasn't all flat at all. It was, well, some of the hills were really quite big, and up and down and up and down and around another bend. Oh, we must be there now. And then you get around the bend and then be another hill. So about, at one point, like my legs were in agony because it was did quite a few miles. And I said, that's it, I have to rest. I have to rest now. Like, so I got off the bike and I actually just lied down on the ground on the grass at the side of the road. And I just thought, Earth, just please, I need some strength here to get back to the boat, back to where the boat was. And so like probably about 10 minutes, but I just felt sort of like I sunk into the ground a little bit and felt just like I was wrapped up in a blanket or something. And then and after about 10 minutes, I thought, I feel better now. So I jumped up and said, okay, off we go. And that was it. I managed to have enough stamina left to get back to where we were, where the boat was. And then we worked it out when we got back on the map and that. It was about 37 miles we'd ridden on the bikes that day. And I wasn't I'm probably not as fit now as what I was then. No, I know I'd attempt it now. But then I thought I was pretty fit, but no. And we got back on the boat and we got we were on Big Hugh's boat at that time. And he, where have you been? I've been worried about you all day because there's no phones or anything. And we wanted to head back towards Bangor in Northern Ireland. We were going to head back across the ROC because the tide was right and everything. So anyway, we quickly had something to eat and I just crashed out in the cabin. And then when I woke up, it was just the gentle rocking of the boat. I thought, are we moving? You know? So I went out and the full moon was just up in the sky above. So, and the sea was a beautiful velvety black. It was just so smooth, and we were gently sailing across. And I think that's why I thought, are we moving? Because he turned the motor off because it was just enough of a breeze that we were just gently sailing across the water, and it was just magical. Beautiful. Yeah. I was a bit sore for a few days after that, though.
I have an e-bike. I like cycling, and where I live is very hilly, but I have an e-bike. So I'm very grateful for that. And I'm getting fitter and fitter and fitter and using less and less power because you have to still cycle. It's enhanced cycling. I recommend it. There's a question.
I'd like one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Cheryl says it's a beautiful story. Thank you for that. And thank you for the story, Trudy. I just love that description of the sea as velvet. Beautiful. There's a question here from Gabriella. And I mean, it's an interesting one. Do people bring gifts to sacred sites when visiting? Is that something you do? Or if you do, what kind of gifts do you bring?
I always collect, if I'm walking along the beach or through a forest or, I'm a stone girl. I've got boxes of stones I've picked up over the years and every now and then I think, I shouldn't keep all them. But I go through and think, no, they want to stay with me. But sometimes I'll put some in my pocket if I'm going for a walk and then they're the ones I gift back in different places. But sometimes I'll put things in my pocket specifically, like if we're going somewhere like with the Melbourne Grove and, offer a gift to the spirit of place, sometimes I come home with it again. I've forgotten to gift it. But other times I hear that voice, don't forget to, some places love it and some places like, nah, take your stuff with you. We've got enough stones here. You sort of hear that.
It's an interesting one because I visited places and I see, bits of night lights and things, and things that actually, become litter at some point. And what I like to do is sing. And that, I see that as a gift, or my breath is a gift to a tree or something. If it's just, I'd be interested to see what other people do. Our viewers, what's your view on bringing gifts to sacred sites? Because is that, I think it's important that we come with thanks and gratitude rather than always about going to get something and to take away. But it's what you give that. Poppy says, I always find Amazon stones. What are Amazon stones? Now, Poppy, you're in Greece, I think. I sometimes look for a stone or a feather which is nearby the place I'm giving thanks to my ancestors. Okay. I take oats. Yeah, that's kind of an Irish thing as well. Oh, not Amazon. Amazing. A lovely typo. I love that. I collect quartz sometimes, so it's fun and brings me with. So I'm actually, I'm interested in hearing what people bring as a gift, or do you give a gift to a sacred site? That I think is an interesting one. How you give thanks to or express appreciation to a site. Sage, for me, each day and site are different. So often it's by intuition. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, so sometimes you're compelled to give something and sometimes you're not. I do like, because I love shells as well. If I'm going somewhere like in the middle of a forest or up a mountain that's really inland, I love to gift a shell from the sea, because it's different. It's like, it's not something that's there, even though the place might have been an inland sea years ago, maybe. And then I sort of think, if someone's walking, comes here, and they think, oh, how did that shell get here? That's amazing. What's a shell doing so far from the sea? Because I gifted it.
And then Zane says, I've left. It's interesting because you think, oh my God, Trudy's been here, that we all know now. If you find a shell anywhere in Australia, she's been. Zane says, I've left various stones and crystals, but mostly I sing or recite the Druid's prayer in Irish. Absolutely. I think that is wonderful. I brought oats, walnuts, seeds, anything totally consumable by the local wildlife. I think that's a very good thing too, that it's not permanent. I know with plants, when harvesting, we are supposed to leave some strings of own hair. That land is a personal gift from a human to nature before picking them out. I do that if I was picking herbs. I would leave, I have plenty to spare. I would leave some of my hair or my breath. In Thailand, they make amazing flower boats to float in the rivers and offering. Oh yes, I've seen them in Thailand. Absolutely exquisite. I found a heart-shaped stone on a beach in Wales and thanked the land and accepted the love. I think it's wonderful, when you're walking on a beach and there's, among all these stones, one pops out that you managed to see it at the time, and it's a gift. A verbal prayer of thanks, absolutely, yeah, that leaves no trace either. So just an interesting one. Are you a mystic or a magician, Trudy?
I don't know, probably a combination. A mystic. I don't know, how would you really define, what's the difference between a mystic and a magician, really? Like, sometimes I find myself, if I'm having an interesting conversation with someone, that words will be sort of put into my mouth, that I'll say something and I think, oh, where did that come from? That was quite profound, and I'll get a bit goosebumpy with it. A magician, when I'm cooking and that, I think I definitely put magic into that as I'm cutting and chopping, and definitely when I'm stirring. And I make my own beer.
Oh.
And I've done apple cider and ginger beer as well. And I try to do that and coincide with moon phases if I can.
Okay.
And put the magic into that. And I really enjoy doing that. And I'm stirring as I'm filling it up and say. And here we are making beer. As we drink, we'll have good cheer. Just things like that. Make a happy brew.
Oh, very good. Does it last long, your beer?
Not in summertime. There's a hot day, drink it more. And plus, if friends come around, they all say, "Oh, I don't like homebrew. I don't like homebrew." And I say, "Well, try mine, but I hope you don't like it either, because
yes,
if I'm sharing it with everyone, there's less for me." But I also make it to share as well.
yeah.
It's just a bit of a running joke that we have. That's like, "Oh no, I don't like homebrew. We better not try it then." But they usually say, "Oh, that's not a bad drop. That's pretty good." The apple cider is a really big hit. One of my housemates, he's often, "You got any cider there, Drew?" No, you'd have to wait for the next brew. And then you've got to store it as well. It's like you can't make too much because, like, I haven't got the room to store it. I haven't got a cellar or anything where I can have. Well, that's what I made last year. But I really want to get it. I want to have a try at making mead. That's the thing I really want
yes.
to go at.
I've made it a few times with the help of a friend, and I have bees, but I tend not to harvest. I feel I keep them as pollinators rather than as suppliers of honey. But I had intended to take some in the spring, so like their leftover winter stuff, knowing that that they would be continuing to have food, but I didn't get around to it. Who is it? This is Gabriella. This is she says probably that's what Taliesin sipped from the cauldron beer, and Corridon was upset because he was underage.
It's really satisfying doing your own. Yeah.
It is. I don't like beer. Mead is lovely, and Chouchin, which is it comes from Brittany, so it's either an apple mead or a honey beer or a honey cider, and it's absolutely lovely. So I am partial to mead.
Yeah.
So
I have to find some really old recipes of ancient. We grew some hops, so I've got a big bag full of hops ready to have a go at making something with, and I've got a lot of mugwort as well. Apparently they used to make beer out of mugwort.
Oh, really? It's a bitter.
I'll have to find that recipe.
Yeah, because it's a bitter that would make it would make a good beer. Except I don't like beer, but anyway. But I'm still interested in the fact that you make it. What would you say has been your greatest achievement?
Probably rearing 2 beautiful boys, mostly by myself. And they're young adults now, or they're not so young. They're 33 and 35 now. But seeing them grow up and be independent and live their own lives and allowing them to live their lives. Like there's so many things like, I don't like that girlfriend, or don't live there, or you just have to be quiet and just allow them to live their life and make their own mistakes. That's probably the hardest thing, just allowing them to make mistakes without interfering.
That's right.
But letting them know that you're there to support them and you're there if they ever need you.
Absolutely. So, what's the most reckless thing you've done?
I have got a good story for that.
Go on.
Years ago when we used to be into motorbikes a fair bit, and actually the father of my 2 boys, he was really into motorbikes a lot. He's not now, but we used to have lots of bikes, and we used to go on rides with other people, like a group of friends would go on rides. But anyway, one year, every year around about Christmas time, it was at the Motorcycle Riders Association in Australia. We used to have and I think they still do, but I'm not sure. It's called a toy run. where people would get on their bikes and ride up the freeway and all gather at one spot, and then everyone would take Christmas presents to give to charity for the children for Christmas. So you'd see all these people riding along the highway with big teddy bears strapped to their backs, and all these big bikies with teddy bears, and that was really funny. And one year, I'd gone with one friend, but I really liked this other guy. I was single at the time, so anyway, I was on the back of one bike, and this other guy that I really liked and come up next to us and having a chat while we're going up the freeway. And then he said, "Do you want to come in the back with me?" I said, "Yeah, all right." So we didn't stop. Here we were going along the highway, and we just slowed down. And I sort of got up off one bike and hopped onto the back of the other bike as we were still going along the freeway. And it's like, and we did it, and it was fine. But then I thought, that was really dangerous. I probably shouldn't have done that. So that was really reckless. But, you know, I got to have a bit of a cuddle with the other fella on his bike, and that was a good day.
Did you ever go out with him?
Not really. Yeah. I think actually I found out he had another girlfriend, so it's like, oh, well, you know, I won't interfere there, but I think, yeah, no, I didn't want to get involved after I found he had another girl. But I never forgot about the thrill of jumping from one bike to the other, and then everyone said, "That was mad. You should, you know, what if the bikes had come apart too far and I was sort of stepping over and didn't make it, or they'd actually bumped, you know, foot pegs got stuck or something, and we could have had a stack in the middle of the freeway." But anyway, we survived.
The question could be, this is from Gabriella, are you a magician, a mystic, or an acrobat?
Definitely not an acrobat, not anymore. I was a lot more agile when I was younger. Maybe I was an acrobat then.
What's the biggest challenge you've ever overcome?
I think I've shifted house quite a few times, and I have moved from one area completely to another one where I didn't really know anyone. Like when I moved up to Cairns, to Clifton Beach, the only person I knew up there was my brother. And so that's a challenge, moving into a new place and starting a new job. I had a job at Cairns Hospital, and not knowing a soul. But then I did make some friends quite quickly, and I'm still in touch with some of them, even though I've moved back to Victoria. So that's just getting out of your comfort zone and not being scared to be by yourself. Yeah. And then moving back to Victoria as well. Such a long drive all the way up. I drove from Victoria. I had my car, a little station wagon, and a trailer, and that was it. Got rid of all my worldly possessions pretty much, and even though it broke my heart to get rid of some of those boxes of books, I still miss those books. You know, when you look up something and you think, where's that? Oh, that's right. I haven't got that one anymore.
Was this after 2019? Because I met you, and I think you were in transition. I think you were talking about giving up your home and moving, and was that time?
Yes, yeah. What was January? I'd just driven back from Cairns. That's right. But I still, at this stage, I drove back in my camper van and the car, no trailer this time. I left my trailer with my brother, and because I'd acquired more stuff while I was up there, because I got rid of all my furniture and then I got new furniture. I thought, it was too expensive. Why did I get rid of everything? Because it's more expensive to actually replace things.
Yeah.
And some of the things you're replacing, they're not as good as what you had. So I put stuff in storage, and then just put down my the things that I knew that I'd be needing for the next how long it would be. So it was all my Druid stuff. I'd completed Druid grade by then, but I hadn't written my review. So just all that, crystals, things that I'd need, and everything else was in storage. So at that point, I'd driven back, but my stuff was still up there.
Okay.
Yeah, and I've got my stuff back in Victoria now, in storage still.
Still, okay.
I haven't found a place of my own yet. I'm still stuck sharing a room at my ex-partner's place.
Oh, okay.
That's good because one of my sons lives here as well. So
lovely.
I feel like I'm back in a family again, which is really nice. I lived on my own for quite a few years, and I really missed family, and now I'm just really celebrating the family times when we're all having a meal together and laughing and joking, and
That's lovely.
just being, yeah.
Do you have any regrets?
Yes and no. Right. Generally no, but I just wish that years ago, when housing was a lot cheaper, that I had bought a house, or at least, I mean, and I did try a couple of times, but the banks always said, "Oh, you're only working casual," even though it was sort of full-time casual. And I never had enough of a deposit.
Yeah.
So then I just sort of gave up on the idea, and I spent all my money travelling overseas, which has also been wonderful. I definitely don't regret any of that. It's just a little bit unsettling now, knowing that I don't know where I'm going to be living in the future, because I don't have a stability of my own home. And that's a bit scary at times, because where I'm living, he's building this still. It's all out of recycled materials. It's a great place, but his idea here is to give it back to the community as a place for meetings, workshops,
okay,
gatherings, for people to show art. And so I won't be able to live here after a few more months when he's finished. I don't know what I'm going to do, because rentals are too expensive now. I'll have to get into another share house, or, hopefully win Taps Lotto.
So living with a lot of uncertainty.
Yeah, I don't really enjoy the uncertainty of it, but then I try not to worry about it either. And then just trust that, I've always managed to be in the right place at the right time, even if at the time you don't think so, because you might be having experiences that are challenging.
Yeah.
But when you've come through that and you look back, you think, well, that was tough, but gee, I learned a lot, and I wouldn't change that, because your path it leads you to where you're meant to be. And that's good times and bad times, because it's all learning, it's all experience.
There's a comment from Leo: solidarity in uncertainty, Trudy, which is really sweet. Thank you.
That's a good one. Thank you, Leo. Thank you.
When you say you learned a lot about all of this, what would you say has been the biggest learning you've had from living the way you do?
The biggest. I suppose because I wouldn't say I'm a hoarder, but I like things around me that have meaning. And then because I've shifted so many times, I've ended up with a lot of stuff, and I think I needed to be a lot more discerning about what was actually really more important to keep, and not something just because I like it, but more something because it has sentimental value, or brings back really important memories that I think help me be who I am. So just not allowing myself to be surrounded by clutter, which sounds really weird, because I'm basically living out of my bedroom and I can't fit anything else in here, and it's very cluttered. You can't see how bad it is, luckily.
So it's about, for you, it's about discerning what you need and what is important and what isn't. And I suppose, I'm a hoarder. I gather stuff. It just comes. It mobs me, and I don't like throwing things out because I'm always worried they're going to landfill. So my house becomes a landfill. But that moving keeps you more disciplined, doesn't it?
Yeah, it has to in a way, because if you don't unpack everything straight away, you're just carting around boxes of unopened stuff from house to house.
That
And when
becomes
you finally open, you've packed it thinking, oh, yeah, I need that. And when you finally unpack it, because when I moved up to Cairns, there was a couple of things I didn't unpack because there was nowhere to put it. And then you think, God, I've been carting this stuff around the country for years, and it's, what good is it really? You know, unless it's something that's, I like collecting things from auctions to get some really good bargains and they're a one-off. But if it's just some bowls, that just cheap bowls from, Kmart or something, they're easily replaced. So being more discerning about what matters and what is a one-off thing that you can't replicate with anything else. But not having too much, because it does drag you down, the weight of carrying all this stuff around everywhere. But I know I was told when I got rid of all my stuff I would feel so much better, but I didn't, because I thought, I wish I hadn't thrown that out.
Gabriella has a question. She says there is a difference between hoarding and curating a personal collection. And that is a really interesting one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I get that. I suppose what I have is books. I used to be fascinated when I was younger that people, collected owls or frogs or dinky cars or something, and I used to be really impressed with that, and people would display, this is my collection of. I was in one place and they had cigarette lighters, Zippo lighters, it's whatever it calls you, and then that would not interest me because it's like they don't have a function. Where my books do. But then I always think, well, keep that. I must have been in a past life in a war situation. It was like, keep that. You never know when you might need it. And I have found that when I've thrown something out, the next day I've needed it.
Yes.
It could have been nail a particular or screw a particular length or whatever it is. Say, oh, I've done enough of that. So I do it with great. And my friends, are after. If there's anyone watching this who kind of go, Eimear, they like to get me to get rid of stuff, and it's like, ooh, very, very hard.
Because usually when you've got rid of something, that's when, within a short time, you need it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody has asked a question. What are your talents, Trudy?
My talents?
Yes.
Gee. That's, I don't know. I don't really, I think I'm just one of the, and I think a lot of people are like this, that you tend to not look for your talents. I tend to see my faults more than anything. And if I'm talking about my talents, then I suppose it's from a childhood of, don't big note yourself. We weren't encouraged to think about what was good about ourselves. So that's a tough one to answer. Yeah.
That's how I was brought up too, but I think it's really, really important to recognize your talents. You write poetry, don't you? You're a herbalist.
Yeah. Oh, I am getting pretty good with intuitively picking out herbs for people. Okay, I've just thought of one. I am pretty good at bringing calm into situations. If there's a room of people who are pretty stressed, I can just go in there and just sit down quietly and bring people back into a sense of calmness. But, and I'm mentioning that because someone else told me that I do that. It's not something that I would have thought, oh, this is what I do. I could look at that. I'll calm people down. That was told to me by someone else, that they said you really do that. And the situation was that there was this girl, this she was an Irish girl actually, and she was going out with the son of a family that I was very close to when I lived in Trentham, and they were going to get married, and she was over here, and then she got sick, and she had like this massive migraine, and within a week she died, and it was really, really sad. It was just such a shock for everyone. And her mother came out from Ireland, for the funeral and to try and find out what went on. And I used to go to the farm. I was going there every day to help make cups of tea because it was a really big family. There was like 9 children and their partners and great grandchildren, and I was helping make cups of tea and just being there. And then on the 4th day, I thought, I'm not going to go out there today. I'll just leave the family some space. I didn't want to be in their way. And then at about 10 o'clock in the morning, I knocked on the door, and it was Madeline, one of the daughters, and she said, Trude, can you come out to the farm? Because when you're there, we just feel a lot more calmer and a bit more at peace with this. So can you come out? And it made me feel really good.
Yeah.
I thought, yeah, I'll definitely come out. And
Karen says, bringing calm is such a gift. And, at times like that, times of death, that's one thing that when people don't want to intrude or they're, I don't know what to say, so I better not go near them, where actually your presence and to be able to bring a calming presence at a time of grief and uncertainty and confusion as to, how all this happened, I think is, it's such a gift.
But thank you for the question, because it made me remember that. And yeah, it's nice to share.
And somebody early on, commented on the serenity you have about you talking about not knowing where you're going to be living, in the future. You come across as very, very calm.
Oh, that's good. I think I'm going to be 60 this year, so I'm not a spring chicken anymore. And I think I accept that I am on a path, and I chose this path before I incarnated into this body, because I'm an old soul and I've lived many lives, and it's just accepting that I'll be looked after. I'll be fine. I've got this far in my life, and I've had times before when I've had to shift because of the place I was renting got sold and not knowing where I'm going to be. But now I just trust that it's all going to work out. But that is a big thing to come to that and just be in acceptance without worrying, because worrying is not going to get me anywhere.
No, and Gabriella says, I confirm I am definitely more at peace since I've joined this fireside chat. I feel your presence is very soothing waves, Trudy.
Thank you, Gabriella. That's nice. Thanks.
There's a question here from Leo. What is your favorite thing about where you live right now, in your environment?
Definitely the mountains, and because it's Toolangi State Forest, and where we are, it's the water catchment area for Melbourne. So there's lots of lovely old trees, and also, but the river's not far away. I like being close to water, so that's just going out and seeing the mountains, and yeah, that's probably the best part about Hillsville, I think, is the location.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What are you most grateful for?
Grateful. I'm grateful for everything. And that might sound silly, but practicing gratitude just like when I'm having a shower, I say, I'm so grateful for the hot water, and I'm so grateful to have a place to use the hot water to have a shower. And then just practicing gratitude, I think, brings you that inner peace as well. Because I might not know where I'm going to be in a few months, but at least I have a home now, and I'm so lucky compared to many people in the world. So, I'm grateful for the fact that I'm a mother and I've had the chance to bring children up and experience giving birth and raising babies. And I love babies, they're great, but having had that experience, Yeah, I'm grateful for that. And the opportunities I've had to travel as much as what I've had. Yeah. Didn't realise I'd travelled as much until now. The opportunity is not there to go overseas again in the foreseeable future. So I'm grateful for my memories and all my photos and the friendships that I've made when I've travelled.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Zane says you'll receive and send joy wherever you live, Trudy.
Thanks, Zane. Yay.
What gives you joy?
The simple things. The sun shining on a cloudy day, and then the sun breaks through, and the light sort of lifts everything. But then also when you haven't had rain for a few weeks, and then it starts to rain, and just the smell in the air. It's a happy, joyful smell of freshness and rejuvenation. Laughter, when you're in a room of happy people and having a giggle and a bit of a banter, and that definitely gives me joy. Being around good friends, because I spent probably about 4 or 5 years living by myself, and I missed the fellowship of being around other people. Mm-hmm. So now when I'm in a room of especially happy people, that brings you joy.
It's wonderful. Just to go back to your carrying, Ricky says, you mentioned about carrying boxes from house to house and possibly never opening and using the items within. But what is the one possession you feel that absolutely must travel with you from home to home?
My mandolin.
Oh,
that goes everywhere with me.
Can you play some?
I play mandolin, yeah.
Trudy, you never mentioned this. That's another talent.
Well, the thing is, at the assembly in New Zealand, I had my song all ready to play for you and Philip and Stephanie, but you all went to bed before my turn.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't know that. I remember being so tired.
Yeah, and that's fair enough. It was a hell of a day.
Can you play it now?
It's downstairs.
Oh, it wouldn't. That wasn't in my head.
You should have pre-warned me about that.
Oh, I'm so
sorry. I'm a bit shy.
You didn't find your poetry book, did you?
I did, but I've only got one in it.
So here's a talent to be. So will you share one of your poems with us?
It's probably the most recent one I did, actually. I did it for Lunasa this year, but it's still probably appropriate for the people in the Northern Hemisphere.
Yeah, the next a solstice this weekend, and the next one will be Lunasa. Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to find my solstice one. I did a few years ago, and it was about traveling between hemispheres, like from the southern hemisphere here to the northern hemisphere, and it was called topsy-turvy solstice. It's like it's a topsy-turvy solstice because I'm here, not there.
Ah, yes.
And it was about, I wish I had found that one because that would have been a good one. It wasn't a touchstone.
Just to let everybody know that while, this Saturday we're having our summer gathering and we will be celebrating the summer solstice, Trudy will be with the Melbourne Grove on behalf of the order holding the winter solstice. And it's going to be 10 a.m. Was it? No, what is it? 10 a.m. UK time?
Yes, I think so. It's 7 p.m. here, so 7. Yeah. Goes back to 7. Actually, I think it's 4 a.m. or is it 10 a.m.? I'm not sure which way it goes.
Okay.
But 7 p.m. Australian time, anyway. Yeah.
You're ahead, so it'll be 10 a.m.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So 10 a.m. your time.
I remember it was a civilized hour that I can attend. Anyway, but it's really interesting.
You don't have to get up at some unearthly hour.
I know. It is, but it's just lovely that I'm conscious of having been to New Zealand and to the Shibota, the Southern Hemisphere OBOD gathering, how everything is up. And then because we have this connection, with the Southern Hemisphere now, it's more real for me that topsy-turvy bit, that, well, it's because I now have I was always aware of it, but now it's more in sharper focus, because the community's gotten bigger for me. But I find it fascinating. So I'd love to hear it someday. But anyway, give us your Lunasa one.
Seeds are sown, cuttings planted, watered in while words chanted. Power of earth, fire, water and air, and now the harvest for all to share. Filled with life, filled with light, nourished by love, I take a bite. The summer's harvest reminds us all to listen close and heed the call. Defend the earth, defend the trees, defend the rivers, birds and bees. The land and I, we are one as I stand beneath the shining sun. I give thanks for food and thanks for water and thanks for knowing I am Gaia's daughter.
Oh, I love that. I am Gaia's daughter. That is really, really lovely. It's beautiful. Thank you. So this is Poppy from Greece. Trudy probably has many talents. I think she should do a mind map of her talents. I think that's absolutely. So people are saying thank you. Wonderful poem. Really, really nice. So I think start the mind map. But
yeah, that's a good idea. Thank you for that idea. Yeah.
It's amazing the suggestions that come from our viewers, and also the questions that can help the conversation. I think it's really lovely. Really, really appreciate the engagement, or the level of engagement with our viewers. One concern you have about the modern world?
Oh, just the destruction of the environment. How the trees are just logged for nothing, pretty much. And that's really in your face around here, because we have the Toolenga State Forest, but they do log areas of it. And if they were just going in and just, taking out a few trees, one here, one there, whatever, and being careful, well, that's not as bad as just going in and just totally destroying everything. And I can't stand that. That makes me feel sick. As the log trucks go past our house, as they come down the mountain, and I'm probably naughty, but as I see them, I say, "You horrible truck driver, you're not going to sleep very well tonight for doing what you do." So, it's not cursing them or anything. It's just, I wouldn't do that, of course.
No,
it's just discontent at the senselessness of it. They can. I know we need wood in it, but do it from plantation stuff. Leave the wild stuff alone now. We've destroyed too many of the ancient forests of Earth, and that's one thing that really gets me angry. Hopefully that'll change soon.
We have the same issue here, that like 6% of Ireland is forested, and mostly as probably is plantation, and it's a Sitka spruce, which is not a native species, and it's it's grown for timber, and just a very, I think, short-sighted approach to planting trees, which is really, really unfortunate. It causes me a lot of upset, and I've no more room in my garden. I've no more space to plant a tree, just none. And if I had land, if I could buy land, that's what I'd do. I would plant trees, and not for me, for the future. And it's always amazed me, if I walk on, large estates here, and you see trees that are a few hundred years old, and how those people who planted them knew they would never see them, but they were done for the future. And I think, what a gift to be able to give to the future, to plant trees now with no need for profit, just saying I'm planting trees for the future, for future generations. I think is such a gift. Unfortunately, those with the power don't allow that to happen, which is such a pity.
Mm. And I did notice that when I was in Ireland. I wanted to find an old forest to go walking through, and there wasn't any. And I felt sad.
There are a few. There's in, I don't know if you went to Killarney National Park.
No.
Okay, that's in Killarney and Kerry. And
Yep.
There's Rinadina Woods, and that is an ancient yew forest.
Mm.
And it's one of 3 surviving yew forests in Europe. Now, it's a very small one, but it is there. It's not very well known. Somebody told me about it, and I hadn't known about it, because when, say, the tourist board talk about Killarney, they talk about this. Now, you'd love Turk Waterfall. It's beautiful. And it's actually, it's a temperate rainforest. So it's just across the road from Killarney National Park. And there's the Lakes of Killarney. Absolutely incredible, beautiful spot, full of tourists, but I know why it's full of tourists. And also there's an abbey, a ruined abbey in Killarney, the national park, and in the cloister is a yew tree. It's an old yew tree, and it was and I remember first time visiting this tree. They were restoring or doing some restoration work on the abbey, and it was surrounded by metal railing, and you couldn't actually get to the tree. And I remember thinking, oh, this is so sad, and talking to the tree, this is really, really tough. It's almost like you're in a prison. And I remember walking away when I left the abbey, and I looked back, and there was the canopy of the yew tree towering over. And it was like, no, I'm not trapped. Look at me. You're just looking at the trunk. But I have this freedom. I'm, free to the sky, and I will endure. And it was just fascinating. And I've gone since now. You can actually go and connect with that tree. But it's beautiful, beautiful yew tree. So there are some forests, but yes, I mean, we were mostly forested.
Mostly, I spent a lot of time up in the north, in Northern Ireland, and in Donegal and Sligo we went to, but not so much south. And that was going to be the next trip. We're planning to go to Skellig Michael.
Yes,
that's where I wanted to go next. That was going to be last year's trip. That didn't happen.
Well, it's I have seen Skellig Michael. You book a few weeks in advance to get on the boat.
Yeah.
But it can be cancelled if there's bad weather. So somebody says, Stephanie, I love the news this week on how the jaybirds have helped plant trees. So there's an article in The Guardian. Anyway, thanks for sharing that link so people can actually look at that link and check it out. Thank you for that. Any other concern about the modern world that you have?
How we rely on fossil fuels when there's alternative sources of power readily available, that we're just forced into driving petrol cars, and the governments just keep pushing for more oil exploration. And the gas one really gets me. Fracking is scary, what it does to the land and the waters. That's a big concern.
Do you have much fracking in Australia?
Apparently, yes. Yeah, I've got a sticker on my car, no more fracking or something. Especially up in the Northern Territory and far north Queensland, where there's not as many towns and people, but so they think they can just go and do whatever they like, and no one's going to stop them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's so destructive.
Yeah.
Mm.
And then we have, we've had lots of anti-fracking demonstrations here, and both here, UK, and it stopped here. I don't know if it's still going on in the UK, but they've managed in some places to stop it. But it's absolutely horrendous.
Mm.
When you think about all that, what gives you hope for the modern world?
That enough people become aware of that there is alternative sources, and not to just rely on the old things that are in the past. It's like we are a modern world, whether you like it or not. And in a modern world, we don't still have horses and carts for transport. So humanity has to evolve into not using the old sources of power, because that's an old world. We're in a new world now where we should have the awareness of, and there's so much potentialities out there in regards to creating power. One of the best ones I've heard about is magnetics. You get, two big magnets that repel each other, backwards and forwards, generates power that can be stored and then used. And the only thing that wears out with them is the bearings, with the magnetics going back and forth. That's a very cheap alternative source of power that's already been explored.
I haven't heard of it. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Gabriella says, how would you imagine the future if it were to go as in your heart? I suppose that's kind of touching on that a little bit, but
yeah. Just a beautiful world where there's peace, because people have remembered that we're all humans and we're all part of the family of humanity, and we're all given different lives and different bodies each time for our soul to grow. And it's not the appearance of the person, it's the soul inside the person. So the future world is where people have remembered their inner divinity, and so honour each other, and within that honour the earth, because we're all connected. Earth supports us. We need to honour earth. She provides all our food, all our medicine, materials to make houses and for clothing. If we honour earth and she honours us, there's a beautiful balance. And that's my future world. That's the golden age that I want to be a part of.
Mm-hmm.
Abundance for all, no greed.
Yeah.
No cruelty. The children are free to live their lives and as children, not little adults and pushed into this adult. Just allowed to explore and be innocent.
Absolutely. You mentioned being, peace. Are you a pacifist? And are there, like, when or why, for example, would you fight back, or would you?
I'm not really a pacifist as such, but I can be. I'll just go along with things for a while until I reach a point where I'll just snap, and that's it, enough. I have to take action now. I can't allow this. And I suppose that's, weighing up and evaluating, and then that inner voice says, okay, now it's time for action. I'm probably more vocal than physical. Like, I don't like confrontation, so I don't like to do big protests, but I certainly sign a lot of petitions, and I will go to show solidarity. But I'm not the one up on stage rousing the crowds to action. But I certainly support action because it's needed. If we don't act, we lose freedoms and just our right to live free lives if we don't act. If people didn't protest and we would have no forest left now if people weren't protesting and saying we don't like this. The trouble is governments don't like to listen to the people.
It's interesting. Actually, that's why I don't like particularly protesting, but I have gone on one. I think it was 2010 or maybe 2011. We had a huge protest because they were either going to sell off the national forests of Ireland. The government were going to sell them. and there was a big protest, and it was a beautiful protest. It was, in Avondale in Wicklow, and a lot of people there, and it was so peaceful. And there were people speaking, and then there was music, and I think it made a big impact, and no violence. It was just absolutely lovely to have had that. So yeah, yes, I don't usually march on the streets, but that was lovely to go in a forest and say, okay, we are having a demonstration about this, that we cannot be cutting down these. And yeah, likewise, I signed petitions. What if somebody says you're a slacktivist?
That's pretty true. Yeah, I don't like being slack, but it's probably it's the confrontation thing that I don't like.
Yes,
and unless I'm really rolled up enough, and then it's like, yeah, bring it on. I'll fight now, but I have to really be pushed for that.
It's
but
interesting.
I allow space for things to develop as well, until it reaches a point where humanity has to act. Things reach a point where you can no longer sit back and just be a pacifist. Sometimes you have to be courageous and stand up and act and say something.
It's interesting because I got feedback on a petition I'd signed and that they won. And, I get this. It's like, this is because you signed this petition. We have stopped big, whatever it is, from doing that. And this is really good. And it's so in many ways they do work.
Yeah, I love it when I get those emails saying, we won, they're not going to log that forest now, or, they're not going to close that national park and open it up to logging. So, yeah, so it does pay to sign them, because
petitions do have power.
Yeah.
What will you not compromise on? So, like, what's not negotiable for you?
I don't know. I don't know. It's really hard to answer that one. I suppose good quality food. If I haven't got a lot of money to buy shopping, I wouldn't just go and buy the cheap crap. I would be discerning about buying less of better quality, and then because I have a veggie patch, so I can always supplement with what I buy anyway. So not like I was driving along and there was like the fish and chip shop there, and McDonald's there, and a health food shop there. Actually, it might be a toss-up between the fish and chip shop and the health food shop, but I'd never go to McDonald's.
So you can be wrong.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, geez, I wouldn't put crap into my body, just for the sake of saving a few dollars. Yeah. I don't know if that answers that.
Yeah, well, I mean, everybody has something, I think, that they won't negotiate on, and it's we're all encouraged to, things should be negotiable, and that we should be willing to compromise. But then there's comes the line which you will not cross, and it's always interesting to see what is that line for various people. Yeah. Can you, an influential person in history or from history that you admire?
Not really anyone, I don't think. What sort of role models do we have in history that, there's plenty there, but I can't think of anyone to mind. I can only think of people who I don't admire at the moment.
Or even maybe not in history, but people now that you admire, maybe writers or public figures, or
I've gone blank in my mind. Who do I admire? I suppose, and I don't like politics at all, but I suppose one man would be Bob Brown, who's the leader. He does a lot of stuff for the Greens movement, and he instigates a lot of support for saving forests and anti-logging, and he's really put himself out there, and so I definitely admire him for bringing the awareness of just, forest destruction and things like that we might not know about unless he brought it to public awareness. But I'm not really, I know politics is important, but I don't like it because of all the way the backstabbing, and it's all about bringing the other person down, not about promoting good causes. Yeah.
Okay. This is the question I ask everybody. It's our last question is, what is your favorite season? Well, there's two questions, two parts. Your favorite season, and what is your favorite festival for, that marks the wheel of the year?
Favorite season. I used to always say spring, because I love it, after the cold, all the bulbs starting to come up, and I love blossom on trees and the promise of summer coming, and everything's all just nice and fresh and new before the heat of summer starts to brown things off and things wilt and die. But I also really love autumn with the changing colours, and there's things about winter that I love, with if you got a real heavy frost and you come outside and the lawn's all frosty, but the sun's shining, and as you walk past, all the little rainbows sparkle through the
beautiful, yes,
absolutely beautiful to see. And then it'll be cold. The air's really cold, but the skies are beautiful, clear blue, and the smell of freshness in the air. I really love that. And then in summer, I like going to the beach and swimming in the water. And so I love all the seasons. And now I can't really pick one. They all have their own.
They all have something.
Yeah. So they do.
Do you have?
Which one do I like?
Yeah.
Again, I love them all, but I suppose the most significant one that I had a few years ago, it was Imolc, and there's a place the Melbourne Grove goes to. We call it Bridget's Well, and it's a natural spring that bubbles up in within the Dandenong Ranges mountain forest, beautiful area. So we get up really early, we're there at 5 or 6 in the morning, and it's quite often it'll be foggy. It's cold, but there's something about being there. And the best one, there was only 3 of us. There was Elkie White and Joe and me, and we started in the dark, and then we did the rite, and then we did it like a meditation. Elkie guided us through meditation, and then all of a sudden it was light, and we'd lost 2 hours, and I don't know what happened, but we all went on a journey together, and I've never forgotten it. It was really, really significant. So, and again, I suppose it's the light starting to really not overpower, but it's getting stronger than the dark, and it's the promise of life ahead that we celebrate then, and that's probably my favourite.
That's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Well, you've been an absolutely wonderful guest, Trudy, exuding calm, as people said, and thank you so much for joining me. So I'm going to take you out, but not take you out. That sounds like, you know what I mean, but hang on.
Yeah.
What I'm say goodbye to everybody. So
Thank you very much for having
so
me.
much.
And
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Lovely. Well, thank you all for coming and your comments this evening. Trudy and I will read your comments. There's so many not to be able to respond to as they're happening. So we're having our first line summer gathering online on this Saturday. We start at 10 a.m. and we have 3 wonderful speakers. We have Ronald Hutton and we have John Matthews and we have Penny Billington. And then in the afternoon at 3:30, we have our summer solstice ceremony. And then in the evening, we have our Eisteddfod. So I hope you can join us, if not for all of it, because depending on where you are in the world, but hopefully within that time frame, there's something for everybody, wherever you are. So I look forward to seeing you, and I look forward to seeing you next week for another Fireside Chat. And thank you all for being here. So, slán go fóill.